Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 best conferences and retreats video. So, I'm going to get back to reviewing video games. Like I said, I'm super pumped for Project Zero Time Solution. So this is a lot of video games. And I'm going to be reviewing none other than Super Smash Brothers for 3DS. And let me just say that I actually did a Catholic review on this series. If you check out some of my earliest videos, you'll find one called Super Smash Brothers and the Faith. But this isn't a Catholic review. This is just a flat-out review, because Smash is amazing. But I didn't think that at first. Going into Smash for 3DS, I definitely thought it was great, but part of me couldn't help but think that it was like a bite-sized brawl. Like, the soundtrack was only half as big, and there wasn't a story mode, and the graphics were good, but they didn't blow my mind like Brawl's did. And again, most of the coolest things in the game were already in Brawl, so there wasn't really much to get excited about. But then the more I played it, the more I realized that this game is perfect. I repeat, perfect for a handheld game. Like, don't forget, this is from the same guy who did Kid Icarus Uprising, so he really knew how to make the most of the 3DS's hardware. In fact, so much so that you can't even turn on Miiverse while the game is running, because it takes up that much horsepower. So, first off, you're probably wondering, okay, Paul, so Super Smash Bros. For Wii U came out a month later. Why are you only reviewing the 3DS version? Because it's so very different from the Wii U version in several ways, one of which being the stage selection, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, I just want to talk about the basic gameplay. So Smash has always been a very straightforward fighting series. Instead of having a health bar like in every other fighting game, you have a damage percentage meter, and the higher the percentage, the easier it is for you to get knocked off the stage. So if you have 100% damage, you'll actually start smoking, and then red lines will actually appear when you've got a killing blow done on you to sort of oomph-ify the action. They really do a good job with the sound effects to make you really feel the punches of your attacks. So it's essentially a beat-em-up, but it's a simple beat-em-up. And that's what made the original Super Smash Bros. Such a resounding success, because the director Masahiro Sakurai, he was initially thinking that Smash Bros. Would only be released in Japan, because he thought, a silly fighting game with just a bunch of Nintendo characters beating them up, who'd want to play that? Well, Super Smash Bros. Melee was such a success that it's still the top-selling GameCube game of all time. The only game even coming close is Mario Kart Double Dash. Every other game is like 3 million copies less. No joke. So, what makes Smash Brothers for 3DS such a must-buy? Well, first off, it really helps if you have the DLC. Even though that takes up like way too many blocks in your SD card, it's totally worth it, because you get a bigger soundtrack, which for me that's always awesome, especially because since it's on the 3DS, I can just pop in my headphones, put it on sleep mode, and just listen to it on my iPod going to bed and be like, this is the life. And for the most part, the soundtrack is pretty solid. I kind of wish there were more orchestral pieces, considering Kid Icarus Uprising's soundtrack that came out only 2 years prior. That sounded way better than this, but still, the selection itself is incredible, and there really are very few complaints I have. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. What about the gameplay? The frame rate is surprisingly steady. Now, I don't normally talk about frame rates in my video game reviews, but in Smash Brothers, frame rate is everything. And this game manages to find the medium line between Brawl's kind of sluggish pacing versus Melee's lightning fast fighting, so fast you can't even keep track of what's going on. This game is not too slow, but not too quick. And they actually made Link good again, which was awesome. And this game has really good stages. And if you don't like the stages, you now have an option to make any stage completely flat, no obstacles, but still have the music and graphical effects of the franchise. So, My brother really liked that edition because he's never been a huge fan of gimmicky stages. But if you do like gimmicks, the stages here are the perfect mixture of both good for fighting, but also they have enough gimmicks where they don't feel overwhelming. A couple of examples I noticed were there was a Super Mario 3D Land stage that started out as auto-scrolling this webcam. Auto-scrolling from left to right, then switched to auto-scrolling into the background, then back to left and right, then back into the background, and then it all started over again. And it worked because unlike the Wii U version, the default song for this game, which is like a Super Mario 3D Land medley, actually changes depending on where you are in the stage transition. So if you're in the main part of it, you'll only hear the main theme. If you're at the water park of it, you'll hear the beach theme. In the Wii U version, you still get that song, but it doesn't play specifically like that. Same thing with the Reset Bomb Forest stage. The Wrath of the Reset Bomb music, it dramatically changes once you get to the part where Viridi throws the reset bomb and then you're placed inside this labyrinth of sorts. And then the music loops itself out as soon as the reset bomb makes things back to the War of the Wish Seed. And the stages aren't just good for music, they're good because they're designed with a handheld system in mind. That's the main reason why the two versions have separate stages. Like Balloon Fight, for instance, one of my favorite NES pick-up and play games. They made a stage out of it where the cool gimmick is that you can walk from the side of the screen and come out on the other, but if you're launched off the side of the screen, you're toast. Then there was the stage that was based on Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7, one of the few tour stages on the 3DS. But the stages didn't have to be these mega huge opuses. They were straightforward fighting stages that got the job done. And that's what made them great. And some of them even took advantage of the fact that you're playing on one screen. Like the new Super Mario Bros. 2 stage has tons of coins to collect. And you have a meter that keeps track of how many coins you've collected on the top of your screen. And once you get 100, you turn gold, and then you're more powerful and can't be knocked back by any attacks. Those kind of stages are brilliant, and we see nothing of the sort on the Wii U. Graphically, the game is decent, but it still seems like it's lagging behind Brawl, and especially behind Smash for Wii U, especially considering there was only a month's difference between release. But for a handheld system, this is definitely one of the better looking 3DS games out there, and it's by no means an eyesore. I mean, look at the original Smash Brothers if you want an eyesore. On the other hand, the game does feel like it is kind of lazy at times when you consider the handheld's limitations. So as far as modes go, it has the regular Smash mode, which has all of the options you'd expect except like the special Smash and item frequency modifier. They managed to even have time and stock battles, all the characters from the Wii U version, which is like over 58, including all the DLC. There's like 40 some odd stages, including a really cool Mario Maker stage that changes every time you play it, and a Bayonetta stage, which just like blows my mind every time I see it. And they also have like a ton of multi-man smashes, target smash, adventure mode, classic mode, all-star mode. They have a lot of modes, but I'm going to talk about the two that are exclusive to the 3DS version. And that is Smash Run and Street Smash. Street Smash is basically you tag someone with your Street Pass, and then you play this little smashified version of Tin Pin Slammer from The World Ends With You. Simple, but fun. But I feel sorry for anyone who doesn't have Street Pass enabled because it kind of stinks just doing practice runs. Smash Run, on the other hand, is such a joy to play that a lot of Wii U owners really complain that they don't have it in their version. Quite simply because Smash Run is, again, perfect for a handheld. If you've played the Subspace Emissary and Super Smash Bros. Brawl, you pretty much know what to expect. It's basically a 5-minute version of this giant labyrinth that has enemies from all over Nintendo's history, and even a few third-party enemies thrown in there because they can. And even a few Subspace Emissary enemies return, and they look just as great as they did in Brawl. You have power-ups on the bottom screen that you can touch to make the battle a little bit easier, and you also collect these stat boosts, which, even though I've never played that mode of that game, I'm told it's basically a ripoff of City Trial from Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube. And those stat boosts help beef up your fighter for this final battle after the 5 minutes are up, where you'll do this like random competition, and that could either be a straight up fight on a flat stage, or it could be defeat as many enemies as possible. It could be race to the top, or even race to the finish, which makes its triumphant comeback from Super Smash Bros. Melee. So yeah, it's a really incredible mode. It might turn people off by how random it is, because you never know what enemies you're going to get. And even though they do allow you to select what music you want for it, since none of the other stages have a My Music option, there's only 2 songs per stage. You can set when the alternate song comes on, but not the main one. This one you get like 90 out of the 135 songs, but you can't choose how frequent they all play. You can just choose whether or not they'll play, and then the game will randomly decide from the songs that you choose, which is kind of a letdown, but if you only choose one song, then you're guaranteed to get it, so no complaints there. A lot of people were turned off that it's local only and doesn't support Wi-Fi, but I've never been much of an online gamer, so that wasn't a complaint for me in the slightest. Now, as far as the actual online, I actually did get a chance to test out Smash for 3DS Online, and it is terrible. I thought Brawl's online mode was bad, with its horrible lag system, the complete lack of voice chat, and just not really much oomph to it. But this was just a whole new level of awesomeness. The concept is great. You've got 4 fun modes, which are like for people like me that just want to have a good time, and it doesn't record your statistics, so you don't have to be like, oh great, I messed up. And then there's 4 Glory, where they keep track of everything you do. You can only play on flat stages, no items, no final smashes, just you and your opponents, whatever. The problem with the mode is that it was so glitchy that I would be playing with my friend who lives like in the same state as I do, and it would practically become a slideshow. Like I'd be like in mid attack, and then the game would like freeze on me and even show the loading symbol. And then I'd send him flying, but then the person would get stuck in mid-flight, and the whole game was like that. It just totally wasn't worth it. And going off of that, like, the game as a whole suffers unintentionally, I know, but it still suffers from that lack of couch multiplayer that made the other Smash Brothers games so great. Because since it's on a handheld, the game is mostly catered toward people that need a quick release of Smash. Like if you're on the bus, you can play Smash on the go. But the game isn't really well suited for parties, because even if you manage to get 2 people, both with 3DSs, both with the copies of the game, hopefully you both have all the DLC, it's not like you're going to be sharing each other's screens, being like, haha, I slammed you. You're still going to be absorbed in your own screen. And while the lack of a damage percentage meter at the bottom of the screen is nice, because I don't really like games that have too much on the screen other than what you're actually supposed to be focusing on. It still doesn't hold a handle to all those times when we were playing Brawl and I'd be poking fun of Andy for like spamming Ness as PK Thunder, and everyone else in the room would start chiming in too. Smash for 3DS is a mostly single player game, and that's really all there is to say. Now, a couple of miscellaneous aspects about the game that I have some thoughts on. I didn't really like the items too much. The battering items were decent. I liked the new selection of assist trophies, but nothing really wowed me. There were a few ideas that I had in the past that I'm really glad I'm not a game designer, because they ended up being horribly unbalanced. Like the beetle from Skyward Sword. It can like choke you and fly you off the stage, and it's pretty much an insta KO. If you don't know how to escape it, you can be like sent flying with 0 damage. And then the final Smashes were also horribly unbalanced. Like, they were really cool from a graphical level, and even the ones in Brawl that were carried over still look impressive. But again, some characters would be able to do it when you're right next to another. Some characters could do it anywhere on the stage. Some were easier to avoid than others. And just overall, I wish that they were more like how they were presented in Hyrule Warriors, where, yes, they look different, but they still have an equal chance of getting the job done. As far as trophies, the trophies were a fun addition to collect. Most of them were based on handheld games, so there was a lot of Awakening, a lot of Uprising, a lot of Ocarina of Time 3D. Not so much on games like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, The Wonderful 101, etc. And the trophies didn't blow my mind as far as their designs, because most of them were just like ripped straight from the original game's graphics, but just an updated pose. And they didn't move in place like the idols in Kid Icarus Uprising, so I felt like that was a step backwards, considering that it's the same developer. But again, they were still fun to collect, even if they stupidly didn't tell you where some of them came from, which is kind of an odd omission. Then there's also Amiibo functionality, which I actually really liked. I finally got my hands on a super rare Robin Amiibo. And this little thing here is called an NFC reader because I have the old-fashioned 3DS. And what an Amiibo does is basically this can become a customized fighter that learns from how you fight. And as it fights you, it like knows how to counter you the way a CPU can never do. So you can essentially make your own fighter. Now, my brother brought this up when I transferred my Amiibo to the Wii U version. He said that I had customized it so much that the match was unfair. So hopefully that is something I won't make the same mistake again now that I have all new progress. But I do appreciate Amiibos because they allow me to face off against a new opponent every time I play. When you face level 9 computer opponents enough, you begin to see certain patterns, and then you learn to know how to counter them pretty easily. Amiibos, the more you play, the more you really feel like you're in a battle to the death. And it's pretty impressive technology. The last thing I'll mention before I close off this review and say to be continued for the Wii U version is Classic Mode was really well done. I know I missed out on a ton of modes, but the rest of them are kind of meh in comparison. Classic Mode is basically where you go through a horde of various fighting scenarios before you get to the final showdown with the Master Hand. In this mode, you actually get to choose the difficulty level mid challenge or classic mode, and there's even the intensity gauge from Kid Icarus Uprising that's a complete ripoff, but still cool, that lets you choose the overall difficulty. But then as you're walking, you'll have 3 branching paths. Depending on the color, that'll mean the fight is easier or harder, but then you get different rewards, because you have this roulette wheel that scrolls between what you'll get after the match if you beat it. And then, suffice to say that if you manage to beat this game on the higher intensities, or difficulties as some people like to call it, the final battle is nothing short of the greatest spectacle we've ever seen in the Smash Bros. Series. And that is saying something, coming from someone who really loved the boss fights in Subspace Emissary. I don't want to spoil it for you, just in case you haven't seen it for yourself, but trust me, you'll want to build up to playing on the hardest intensities, because this is just, man, a system-stopping showdown spectacular. It's just a shame that you can't play with that battle arena's background in normal Smash, because that would have just been better than amazing. Anyway, my verdict on Smash for 3DS is definitely grab it. Definitely grab the DLC. It's totally worth it, because part of the deal is that they actually brought over the Duck Hunt stage from the Wii U version. And most of the Wii U version's DLC stages are also in this, so there's a bit more shared content if you download stuff. Character selection overall is really great. Not really too many complaints, except for Jigglypuff. Why she's still in that game, I have no idea. Oh, man. Yeah, Masahiro Sakurai crams so much into his games, and I'm surprised I could fit this in a little over 20 minutes. So definitely, 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 definitely give this one a buy. Just expect to hold on to the Wii U version and play it much, much more because it's so much better in almost every way. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Until my next video, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.